It was a cold winter night in February 2004 when a promising 21-year-old nursing student named Maura Murray vanished after crashing her car on a rural road in New Hampshire. No one has seen or heard from her since. The scene was strange. Her car was there, damaged but drivable, and her belongings were still inside. There were no footprints in the snow, no signs of struggle, and no indication of where she had gone. Just like that, she disappeared, leaving behind a mystery that has puzzled investigators, captivated true crime enthusiasts, and broken a family's heart for over 2 decades. What happened to Maura Murray? In this video, we'll take you through the entire case, fact by fact, event by event, with no speculation, no theories, and no drama. Just a clean, detailed timeline and overview of one of America's most baffling missing persons cases. Maura Murray was born on May 4th, 1982, and grew up in Hampshire, Massachusetts. She was the fourth of 5 children in a tight-knit Irish Catholic family. From a young age, Maura was known as intelligent, driven, and athletic. In high school, she was a star athlete and top student, excelling particularly in cross-country running. Her achievements earned her admission to the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point, where she began studying chemical engineering. However, after about 3 semesters, Maura transferred to the University of Massachusetts at Amherst to study nursing. By all accounts, she had a bright future ahead of her. She was close to her family, had a long-distance boyfriend, and was focused on her studies. At UMass, she worked part-time as a campus security officer and maintained a respectable academic standing. But in the months leading up to her disappearance, things started to shift. There were minor incidents like a charge for using a stolen credit card to order food, which was resolved with probation and a clean record upon completion. She also had a car accident while visiting her father, damaging his Toyota Corolla. These were not necessarily red flags, but they did hint at some stress or pressure in her personal life. Despite these challenges, nothing suggested she was in danger or planning to disappear. In the days just before she vanished, Maura's actions became more puzzling. On Thursday, February 5, 2004, she had a breakdown while working a security shift at UMass. Her supervisor reported that Maura was visibly upset, and when asked what was wrong, she simply replied, "My sister." Later, it turned out there had been a phone call with one of her sisters that day, but its contents were never fully disclosed. That same weekend, Maura visited her father Fred in the Amherst area. They went car shopping and had dinner together. Later that night, she borrowed his car to attend a dorm party. While returning, she crashed the car into a guardrail. The damage was significant, and a police report was filed. On Sunday, February 8th, her father helped her fill out accident forms and insurance paperwork. They spent the day together, and he returned home that evening. On Monday, February 9th, Maura's actions became even more unusual. That morning, she sent an email to one of her professors stating she would be taking a week off from school due to a family emergency, a death in the family. But there had been no death. She also called a condo rental agency in New Hampshire and appeared to be looking into places to stay, though no reservations were made. That same afternoon, she withdrew nearly all the money from her bank account, around $280, and visited a liquor store where she bought alcohol, including vodka and wine coolers. She also picked up accident report forms from the DMV. Then, sometime after 4 p.m., she got into her black 1996 Saturn and drove away from Amherst. She didn't tell anyone where she was going, not her friends, her professors, or her family. Her phone was never used again after 4:37 p.m. that day. Later that evening, around 7:27 p.m., a local woman in Haverhill, New Hampshire, called 911 to report a single-car accident. A black Saturn had gone off the road on Route 112 near a sharp curve. The car was facing the wrong direction and had clearly hit a tree or snowbank. The driver, whom the witness identified as a young woman, appeared unhurt but disoriented. Another neighbor, a school bus driver who lived nearby, approached the scene and spoke with the woman, who said she had already called ARA and didn't need help. That turned out to be untrue since cell service in the area was spotty and there was no record of a call to ARA. The bus driver returned home and also called the police to report the crash. When law enforcement arrived at the scene at 7:46 p.m., just under 20 minutes after the first 911 call, the car was still there, but Maura was gone. The car had moderate front-end damage. The windshield was cracked, the airbags had deployed, and the driver's side door was locked. Inside, police found some of her belongings: a packed bag, school books, and the alcohol she had purchased earlier, some of which appeared to be open. But her wallet, phone, and keys were not there. Snow had recently fallen, yet there were no clear footprints leading away from the scene. A brief search of the immediate area was conducted that night, but nothing was found. Authorities initially treated it as a likely voluntary disappearance. By the next morning, it was clear that Maura had not returned, contacted anyone, or been seen. Her father and siblings were notified, and within a day, they arrived in New Hampshire to assist in the search. At first, local police believed she had walked away from the crash, possibly to escape disciplinary action or embarrassment, but the family disagreed. Fred Murray insisted that Maura would never disappear willingly, and certainly not without telling someone. Search efforts began immediately and expanded quickly. Local authorities were joined by state police, search dogs, helicopters, and volunteers. They combed the nearby woods and examined local homes and outbuildings. A tracking dog followed a scent trail from the car down the road for about 100 yards before it disappeared. Some speculated she may have been picked up by a passing vehicle. Still, no evidence surfaced. Over the next several days, flyers were distributed, interviews were conducted, and the family pleaded for any information. But there were no credible sightings, no messages, and no traces. It was as if Maura had simply vanished into thin air. Despite the large-scale efforts, the search gradually slowed as leads dried up. Authorities continued to investigate, but with no physical evidence and no witnesses, progress was limited. As weeks turned into months, the case gained attention in the media and the internet community. Theories began to surface, some believing she had intentionally run away, others convinced she had met with foul play. Some speculated she had staged the car crash to disappear and start a new life. Others suggested she may have succumbed to the elements or had been picked up by someone with bad intentions. However, investigators maintained their position. There was no conclusive evidence to support any theory. Without a body, a witness, or any new clue, they could not determine what had happened. In the years following her disappearance, Maura's case continued to gain notoriety. True crime blogs, podcasts, and online forums picked apart every detail. While this kept the case in the public eye, it also led to the spread of misinformation and confusion. The Murray family continued to search for answers. They pushed for more transparency from law enforcement and worked tirelessly to keep her story alive. Multiple billboards were placed along highways, urging anyone with information to come forward. In 2009, Maura's case was transferred to the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit, who officially classified the case as suspicious and possibly criminal. Investigators re-interviewed witnesses and followed up on tips, but again, nothing substantial turned up. Over the years, various potential leads surfaced. At one point, a house near the crash site was searched with cadaver dogs and ground-penetrating radar, but no evidence was recovered. In another instance, human bone fragments were discovered on Loon Mountain, not far from where Maura disappeared. After forensic testing, they were determined not to be related to the case. Even DNA testing on items submitted anonymously provided no answers. In February 2024, the New Hampshire authorities released an age-progressed image of Maura to reflect what she might look like at age 41. The image was a stark reminder of how much time had passed and how little had changed in the investigation. Meanwhile, her sister launched a podcast to explore the case from the family's perspective and bring renewed attention to Maura's story. Still, no new evidence has emerged that definitively explains what happened that night. As of now, Maura Murray remains officially missing. There is no proof of life, no confirmed sightings, no recovered remains, and no arrests. The case is still open and active, but without new leads, investigators are at a standstill. Her disappearance remains one of the most enduring and mysterious unsolved cases in recent history. What's striking about Maura's story is the sheer lack of answers. Every piece of the puzzle seems to raise more questions. Why was she headed to New Hampshire? Why lie about a death in the family? Why was her phone never used again? And how did she disappear without a trace in such a short time frame? While theories continue to swirl and public interest remains strong, Maura's family is left with only hope and heartbreak. They continue to believe she was the victim of foul play and that someone somewhere knows the truth. They hold on to the belief that even after all these years, a breakthrough is still possible. The disappearance of Maura Murray is a haunting reminder of how quickly a life can be interrupted and how easily someone can vanish in plain sight. The details are few, the facts are limited, but the impact is massive. Behind every statistic, there is a person, a daughter, a sister, a friend. And in Maura's case, a young woman who had dreams, ambition, and people who loved her deeply. Her story deserves answers. Her family deserves peace. And until those answers come, the case remains open, unresolved, and deeply unsettling. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking with this detailed retelling. This was a factual presentation, free of speculation or drama, created to respect the seriousness of the case. If you found it informative, consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into important unsolved stories. And remember, if you know something, even the smallest detail, it could be the key to finally solving this mystery. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.